We are talking about the seven deadly sins today. We're on sin number 5. Sin number 5. And not in any specific order, so if you're trying to figure out what number 5 is, we're just going in random order. We are going to talk about anger.
We're going to talk about
Anger. One of the 7 deadly sins is anger. I'll tell you what anger is. And I want you to remember we talked on last Sunday about the 5 basic principles of sin. How sin poisons us, how it controls us, how it belittles us, how it binds us, and how it kills us. We're going to keep that same format as we look at anger today. Anger is an automatic response to ill treatment or circumstances that contradict our mindset. It is a way a person indicates he or she will not tolerate certain types of behavior. It is an emotional feedback mechanism in which an unpleasant stimuli provokes us and arises an unpleasant response from within us. Anger is an emotion related to one's psychological interpretation of having been offended. And I say that because psychologically we feel like we've been offended. We may not have physically been offended, but we think we have. And because we think we have, it provokes a physiological response of having been offended, wronged, denied, or a tendency to undo something that has been done to us by some type of act of retaliation. Anger really is a form of retaliation. Our feelings get hurt. We got to strike back. When something don't go your way, even though you just kick the door, you may not hit nobody else. You may just decide to put your fist through a window. That's your anger. That is your anger being aroused. When a child doesn't get his or her way, we call it a temper tantrum. That's anger. That child is mad because you took her toy away from her, or you won't let her do what he or she would do, and they respond. They may fall out in the stove. They're reacting because you took or you kept them from doing something that they wanted to do. And they're upset. So they are angry, they throw that temper tantrum. So let's look at Samuel today. When we talk about anger, here's a classic story of anger. David came into Saul's household because he killed Goliath. And he became befriended by Jonathan. And they became good buddies. Now the text in chapter 8, I won't read it again, but if you follow the text and the outline, the direction of the text, it should reveal some fascinating things. Saul took David in and put him in charge of the army. David, I'm going to make you in, put you in charge of the army, and you take the army out and fight some battles. David was being obedient. He went out and killed the Philistines. He came back and all the women, that text says, doesn't say anything about the meat. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. The women came out and started singing a song. David is killed 10,000, Saul is killed 1,000. Saul became very distraught. Why are they giving him credit for 10,000 and me 1,000? And this song got to Saul. It displeased him and made him very upset. Saul was angry and he was full of frustration. Now, the simple question we must ask ourselves here is, why? You're the one who put him in charge of the army. You're the one that sent him out there to kill people. So why are you mad that he did a good job at what you told him to do? If it bothers you that he killed 10,000, why didn't you go out there and kill yourself? Why do you need to get angry because the women were singing this nice little song about him killing 10,000 and you only killed 1,000? Maybe you should have killed some more. Maybe you should have sent him out against a smaller enemy so he would have had 10,000 to kill. All right. You sent him out there. He was just doing what you told him to do and was doing it right. And you mad. And all through the course of Saul and David's relationship, David said, well, I'm going to fix him. I'm going to get him killed. I'm going to make him general. So now you're going to lead and send him out there to get, probably to get killed is really what he wanted. But he did. He came back victorious and killed some more. And that made him even madder. And he became more angry. And he became upset. And all throughout Samuel, you see the story of how Saul spent the majority of the latter days of his life chasing after David, trying to kill him for doing what he told him to do and doing it good. But the real crux of the text is that David was just being obedient and doing a good job. And that's really what gets us started here. Because anger likes to poison us. And it poisons us with blame. In verse 8, it says Saul became very angry and refrained, displeased him greatly. They have credited him with tens of thousands, and he thought, but me only 1,000. What more can he get but the kingdom? Saul himself was not faithful and obedient to God, yet he was the one who commissioned and sent David into battle. Anger tends to make us want to point the finger the other way, instead of perhaps looking at ourselves. When we become angry, maybe it's because of something we have instigated. We might actually be wrong. Has someone ever cut you off and you got like both of you are to blame. Maybe you shouldn't have been playing with that toy in the store, and Mama would have took it away. And you wouldn't have had to throw that tantrum on the floor. Anger makes us point the finger the other way. I look at all of, it amuses me sometimes what you see on television. And I watched video footage of President Obama and that other guy. I can't remember that name. But they have such, I don't know, there's such a deep-seated friction and conflict. You could just, like, I want to say you cut it with a knife, where he rolls his eyes. Such anger. And sometimes I have to ask myself, who is actually trying to be president? The people who are in Congress trying to be little bitty presidents? Or the president himself? And then I look at the 47%. That is angry. Because they only had 47%. If you had 51, you won. We live in a diplomatic society. You talk about fighting for liberty and justice in the land of the free. We voted legally. You lost. And you're still angry because 51% thought differently from you and voted for some other guy. But we tend to point fingers. I hope you followed all that action after the election. They blamed everything, blamed it on this, blamed it on that. But anger makes us, and it poisons the way we think, and it makes us develop excuses that are non-existent because we just didn't get our way, or we didn't get what we wanted, or something was taken away, or whatever it is that sparks the argument. When you get into a debate, instead of agreeing to disagree, we want to get angry because you're not hearing what I'm saying. Yes, they're hearing what you're saying. They just don't agree with what you say. And you're not hearing what they're saying. And then one person gets louder, then the next person gets louder, and then the next person gets louder. Why do you have to yell? To get your point across. You're angry because the other person is yelling at you. And you yelling back at them. So they get angry at you for yelling at you. And the anger just builds up. And it poisons us to the point where now we're going to be angry. And I'm going to be angry for a long time. Here it is 25 years later. And your grandchildren are angry at the other person's grandchildren because of something your grandmama did 25 years ago. Anger not only poisons, but it controls. It controls us with obsession. When Saul became upset, he had to keep his eyes on David because he thought David was after his kingdom. David wasn't thinking about being king. David became king because he was simply obedient to God. Saul, in his outrage and his jealousy and his anger toward David, could not identify with the fact that he was not being faithful to God himself. If he'd have been more faithful to God, God would have kept him on the throne. But he himself was not being faithful to God and was blaming it on David and became upset with trying to get back at David. Haven't you ever had that feeling when you get mad that you just got to get back? And that's why issues last 25 years. Because we got to figure out a way one day, I don't know how, but one day, I'm gonna get you. And you spend the rest of your life resenting that person, trying to figure out, waiting your chance, waiting for the door to open so that you can get back at the person you are angry with. And then like I said, you teach your children, don't hang out with such and such kids. Mama, because I said so. So your children can't play together because you are angry at something that their mama or fathers, whoever did, that may not really have a whole lot of credence. Stepped on your shoe several years ago.